Hello everyone and welcome to my final project for CS50. My name is Simon, I'm based in London, England. For the project, I built an auction platform that allows users to bid for new players as part of a fantasy football league. The website was built in Python and uses HTML for the websites, CSS for the formatting, and Ginger templating to insert some logic into the HTML. The data is pulled from an online source as a JSON file, and everything is converted down into an SQL database. What I'd like to do now is give you a demo of how the website works. Upon navigating to the site, you're presented with a welcome screen that instructs you the rules of the game and how to play. You're prompted to register as a new user or log in if you have an existing login. Here I'll create a new login. Upon logging in, I'm presented with a welcome page that instructs me how to use the website. I have a directory where you can see we have downloaded all of the player data for all players within the league. I can see the names, the positions, the teams they play for, importantly, the market value they currently trade at, and some metrics to denote the performance of those players within the league. As part of the bidding process, I can come and search for new players that I might want to acquire. And upon submitting, I'm presented with information about those players, including their current market value. And here I can come in and enter a bid of my own, perhaps slightly cheaper than their current market value, and submit. This bid was successful. If I'm building up a whole team, I can go to the quick bid page, and within the quick bid page, I'm capable of scrolling down and seeing and entering bids for any player I want very quickly. After submitting multiple bids, I can head over to the auction page. The auction page will present me with all players within the league. I can see what their market value is. I can see what the maximum bid is, and I can see how many bids and who is the maximum bidder for each of these players. Scrolling down, you'll see the two bids that I submitted myself just here. In both of these cases, I am the main bidder for these players, and the actions I can take are different accordingly. If I find a player that might be particularly cheap right now versus their market value, I might decide that I want to place a bid of my own to join in. The bidding starts at the previous top bid. When I submit a bid, my bid is then added, and you can now see I am indeed the highest bidder for this player. I can also click on this player to see the bidding history, to see who has bid, how much have they bid, and who's the current top bidder. At the end of the auction, you can click the close button. The close button will close the auction for that player, and it will allocate the player to the highest bidder. If I close this auction here, you'll see that the player is removed from the bid list, and I can head over to my players, where I can see all of the players I bid upon, which ones I own, and which ones where the auction is still in place. Finally, heading over to the league table allows me to see how my team is performing versus other players and teams in the league. Now that we've seen the website in action, I'll give you a quick run through of how I wrote this, the code for this. As you can see here, the website was written in Python, as I said. Particularly of interest is this helper function, which loads the player data from a website. So if we head to the helpers tab, you can see this function here shows how we have fetched the data from a URL and then converted the data into a pandas data frame and subsequently to an SQL database. Going back to the main application, I can see the functions for each of the websites. A lot of SQL queries were used to do this. Across each of these functions, you'll have noticed there were multiple places where a user is capable of submitting a bid for a new player. So in order to factor that out and clean up the code, I wrote a helper function called makeBid. Back over to the helpers tab, you can see here quite lengthy function which checks to see if a user has previously bid on a player and updates their previous bid value, or if this is the first time they've bid and adds this as a new bid for the player. Now that we've seen how the code works, I'll give you a quick run through of the database structures so you understand how all that SQL worked. So there was a simple table used to store the user data, a unique user ID, as well as names, hashes for the passwords, and cache balances. The unique user ID was critical because it was used in all subsequent tables, including the portfolio, which contained the user ID, as well as unique player IDs, cost prices, and the status, whether the player is bid or owned. The players data table was the one that we converted from the data downloaded from the website. It's quite a large data table with a lot of information about each player. Importantly is the unique player ID, which is generated for us, actually. The bid list is the table that powered the auction platform. Very simple table with just the UID of the bidder, the UID of the player, and the bid price itself. So that was my project. I hope you found the video useful. I want to say thank you very much to all the staff at CS50 providing a wonderful course. If anyone wants to get in contact with me, please feel free to do so on the links below. Thank you very much and goodbye.